are giving a presentation to your business, to your colleagues at work. These tips apply all the way around. Now, I've got a limited time. I'm going to have to zoom through these, so forgive me for being a little quick-paced here, but these are all very valuable tips. The first one, know your audience. Now, that might seem to those of us who are regulars in Toastmasters to be a given, because we come here to speak to the same people every week. But every audience you speak to will be different, will be unique, especially if you're giving a motivational speech, an informational speech. That group may be different each and every time that you speak. And so you want to know who that group is so you can tailor your presentation to that particular group. It's really only kind of common sense, but it's something that's pretty easily passed by. If you're going to speak in a location you're unfamiliar with, get there early. Get familiar with the room. Visualize for a moment, you're giving a presentation on an elevated stage. You've arrived at the last minute, and you go up and give your presentation, and all of a sudden you've got 500 pairs of eyes staring back at you in a room that you have barely even seen for more than about 60 seconds. Compare that to having arrived a half hour early, taking a survey of the room, getting a rough idea of how many seats are out there, walking up on that stage, and getting an idea of what the view is going to be like. Imagining that room filled with people. How much more calm, how much more assured, self-assured are you going to be when you step up on that stage? It's fairly basic, fairly common, but a lot of people pass by on that particular item too. And then meet members of the audience beforehand. That's actually a really cool point that you can use during your presentation. Get there early, shake a few hands, get a couple of names, and then when you're doing the presentation and you have a particular point you want to make, then you can go up and say, Sonia, do you understand how meeting people in your audience can actually make it a little easier for you to make a presentation? You're relating to your audience even more by doing that. Just shake a few hands. You've got friends in the audience already by doing that. Telling a story is an amazingly powerful tool. The key point to making a point is tell a story after you make a point. Make a point, tell a story. The idea being, you may be giving a fairly technical presentation or something that just is a concept that may be beyond that person's grasp, but if they get the story that you tell to support it, they get the idea. Also, a story can be the basic theme of your presentation. I have a particular presentation that I do that is actually about perseverance, never giving up. It's wrapped around the story of a great love from long ago. The two seem unrelated until I actually get to the end of the speech and make the point that it's truly about perseverance and never giving up on a goal. Perform. Now this one, some people think is a little silly. But naturally, most of us have enough fear that we will tend to kind of stand up here, maybe even engage in a fig leaf pose, or we put the hands in the pockets, or we fiddle with the hair, we do those nervous little things. So if you rehearse, if you practice, you will do a much better job. You're going to be more relaxed. You're going to know your material cold, and that's a very, very good thing to do. You don't ever want to read a speech. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Actually, Art referred to that in his presentation. But relate to your audience is another key factor. Making eye contact. You know, there are so many tips out there that people spread kind of by word of mouth that really don't quite work very well. You ever heard the one where, well, if you're nervous being in front of an audience, just look over their heads? Anybody ever heard that one before?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, if I'm in front of an audience at Verizon Wireless Amphitheater and there's 15,000 people in front of me, folks in the front row might buy the idea that I'm looking over their heads. But in a room here with 30 people, who really thinks I'm speaking to you when I'm looking over you? And another one you've probably heard, that whole idea of, if you're nervous in front of the audience, imagine them all sitting in their underwear.
Oh, yeah.
Let's face it, if I'm in your audience, you really want to imagine me in my underwear. Relate to your audience. you should make some eye contact with them. Involve the audience, as I showed a little bit ago with Sonia, by asking her a question. Refer to people by name, once again, as I did with Sonia. Once again, involving that audience, relating to them one-on-one. Getting back to meeting people before you give the presentation, if you're not familiar with that particular audience. It relates to the audience, it gives you friends in the audience, you're making a personal connection. And your presentation will be that much better. People perceive it as that much better. You can stumble through it, but if that audience loves it, you did a great presentation, no matter what. Write it down word for word. This one's kind of important. A lot of people don't realize this. You should never read a speech, but you should always write it down word for word. For a couple of reasons. One key thing is to help with your timing. You can have a very good idea of how many words you can put in a speech within a given time frame by writing them all down. An easy way to gauge that, take a stopwatch. Get out a piece of copy from a book or a magazine, start that stopwatch and start reading. 60 seconds, stop. Count how many words you read. You now have a good idea of how many words you speak in a minute. If you have that number and you have a 7-minute speech to give, multiply it by 7, you know how long a speech to write. Another technique that works the same way that I find particularly helpful is what I call the jigsaw process. When I have a certain topic I'm working on, I won't try and write it all out in order. Random thoughts come to mind, I'll write a paragraph. Another random thought, maybe disconnected from that, and I'll write a paragraph. Once I've done all of that, I'll literally cut out each of those paragraphs, arrange them like a jigsaw puzzle in order until I have a natural flow. And again, I know how long the speech is going to be. So write it down word for word. You'll find that's an extremely powerful tool. Now, don't use PowerPoint if you don't have to. Before I say one more word, Art did a brilliant job for that PowerPoint this evening. There were things that he did to that PowerPoint you don't even realize how well he used PowerPoint this evening. The reason I put in don't use PowerPoint if you don't have to is because many people abuse it. Art used it brilliantly. Many people abuse it. They will put up a brilliant white background with plain black text on it, probably in such a small font you can't even read it from the back of the room. And then what they'll do is they'll stand there and they'll stare at it and they'll read the text to you. How interesting